It's always like a David Copperfield thing.
Yeah.
You know, what's the left hand doing while the right's got you distracted?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I started to think is, okay, so all these sightings are happening. New Jersey was the big focal point, but it's not just New Jersey. It's been other places as well. And I know just the other day that New Jersey and New York both have issued a no drone fly ordinance or whatever you want to call it. So nobody can fly their drones.
But what if it's military?
That's just the thing is like, if these were nefarious in some way, the military would have already shot them down.
Yeah.
Since they've been, one, not shot down, and two, the secrecy around everything, like the tight-lipped nature around, don't worry, there's nothing to fear, nothing to see here. It's all okay. Go about your day, watch your football, drink your drinks, and it's all good. That tells me it's definitely military. I think we all get the feeling that something just isn't right in the world. Welcome, fellow foilers, to the Tinfoil Hat Club, where we dare to discuss all the things we don't talk about in church. And where yesterday's fiction becomes tomorrow's fact.
When you've got a government that's lying to your face, controlling the information through the media that it owns, that's not a recipe for peace in a civilization.
Atomic. The electromagnetic waves affecting our planet.
Megalithic cyclopean sites.
Anderson Cooper, intern for the CIA.
Watchers in the days of Noah.
Well, hello and welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us yet again. So many inquiries as to why we have not covered today's topic, which is all of the weird drone sightings. So that is what we're going to get into today, and other things too, because it may not be what it appears.
No.
A little bit more nefarious than maybe what it seems. Could be the beginning of some interesting things. So that is what we are going to be covering today on the show. And as always, if you are joining us live, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing your comments in the chat. We will try to get to those. So if you're on Rumble, YouTube, or our website, thetfhc.com, watching this, then we welcome you and your interactive discussion. We hope to have some of that today. And if you are seeing this a few weeks down the line on the playback, you're probably watching through Apple, Spotify, or various other platforms. You can always join us on Rumble, on YouTube, or on the tfhc.com when we actually record these all live. I don't think that we've had any show that we haven't recorded live now since for a while. Like every one of our shows has been live now, I think, recorded.
Since that, our first one with Gary Wayne.
Was Gary Wayne, which is actually the one that's out this week. So if you haven't seen the episode yet with Gary Wayne this week, don't miss out. It was a great talk with Gary. He throws a lot of information at you. He's a very well-studied guy, and he's a fascinating cat.
And if you have seen what's going on, please comment.
Yeah,
if you're watching.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a lot of different opinions, a lot of different theories, a lot of different stuff. Ours will be yet one another to throw into the mix, but some interesting things that are going on. So just to let you know, if you do want to watch the show live, you can actually go to our website, thetfhc.com. And if you actually go hit the watch live button, it'll show you all the upcoming shows that we have. You can hit the little bell icon and you can actually track all of the shows. It'll put them on your calendar. And that way you can actually join us live. So it's the tfhc.com/live stream. If you are watching this or listening to this after the fact and you are tired of listening to advertisements, we obviously just recently moved over where we needed to pay for the show a little bit, and we have some dynamically inserted advertisements. You're already going to get that if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Rumble, then you're going to have ads. Anyway, that's part of what they do. But on Spotify, Apple, and all that, if you're tired of the ads, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or Spotify, whatever the case is, wherever you listen to us or wherever you watch, the best way to get outside of that and not have ads in your show is actually to go to tfhc.com and click on members, or you can go to tfhc.supercast.com and look at what it would be to be a member. So we have a few different membership plans that you can actually be a part of. 3 to be specific. If you pick the middle or upper plan, the regular foiler or the HD foiler, no ads for you. And the most awesome thing about that, if you listen to the show, you can actually add our feed that has no ads directly to your favorite player, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or whatever you choose, YouTube Music, and you can get everything ad free.
No ads for you.
No ads for you. You can also get all of the ad-free video over there as well. And then I would be remiss if I did not remind you, here until January 5th, we are running a special in the merch store. So if you guys want to head over to tfhc.com/merch, we got some cool stuff going on, and I will show you what we have. And that would be the Black Budget sale. It's actually not going to let me play it. It doesn't like me. So it's a Black Budget sale, and that is actually good for, I believe, 25% off everything in the merch store from now until January 5th. So head over to the merch store, tfhc.com/merch, and help support the show that way and pick up some cool swag.
Yeah.
So, but thanks for joining us. And again, just drop your comments in the chat. We would love to interact with you. So off we go. All right, Ben. This all started, mid-November, I think, is when all this kind of crazy stuff started.
I think so. Maybe. Which I have my own drone story from years ago. So I've been seeing drones for quite some time. So to me, it's nothing new.
Okay.
I mean, it's like...
Oh, yes. Go ahead and share the story. I think you've shared it before along one of our first episodes. I couldn't even tell you which one it was now.
We were trying to figure out what year it was yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday, I don't know. It was, the weekends run together.
Yeah.
But we were just, as a family, we were talking about it. But we were coming home from my mother-in-law's in Illinois, and our kids were behind us in their car. We were in our car, and son called. He's like, "You see that light up there?" I was like, "Yeah, we've been watching it for a while." And he goes, "What do you think it is?" She's like, "I don't know." I was like, "It's big." As soon as we said that, it shut off. It just went black. And it came on, and it was on the other side of the road. And they're like, "Did you see that?" We're like, "Yeah." We think it can hear us. And it did it again, and it was back on the other side. And then the lights, it was the best way to describe it would be like a screen, like an LED screen on it. And then the lights would change color going up and down, like just like zigzaggy in different colors on this screen. And then it just went black. And as we got to the top of the exit, my wife got out of the car and she could hear it. I was like, "You better get back in, because it could, have some kind of guns or something on it." Because I think she was wanting to pop a few rounds.
No.
Homie, don't play that,
Not in our neighborhood, drones.
But it was massive. I mean, this was probably, I think it was like 17 or 18.
Okay. 2017 or 2018.
Yeah. And then our son Caleb, he said he was out at recess. This was like about the same time. And he said he saw a military drone fly over.
Interesting.
He said he goes, "I knew it was military because it said like had all the markings. It was like OD green or something."
Yeah.
He said it was huge. He said it's bigger than a helicopter.
Huh. Now, what was it? The screen and kind of the lights and the sound and everything that made you think it was a drone? Definitely a drone and not like a UAP or UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
tell a difference.
It was like they could, they were toying with us.
Yeah.
I know that
field test.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we're not that far from the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. In the grand scheme.
Yeah.
So that to me, like this whole thing, the first thing, and I think, obviously we operate in a more of a conspiratorial arena
Yeah.
But I think rightfully so, because what we have recognized, and I think a lot of people have recognized and kind of in the awakening process, is that it's always like a David Copperfield thing.
Yeah.
You know, what's the left hand doing while the right's got you distracted?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I started to think is, okay, so all these sightings are happening. New Jersey was the big focal point, but it's not just New Jersey. It's been other places as well. And I know just the other day that New Jersey and New York both have issued a no drone fly ordinance, or whatever you want to call it, for the sky, so nobody can fly their drones.
But what if it's military?
That's just the thing, is like, if these were, we were talking before we recorded, and I think anybody with common sense would say that if these were bad, nefarious in some way, the military would have already shot them down.
Yeah.
Since they've been, one, not shot down, and two, the secrecy around everything, like the tight-lipped nature around, don't worry, there's nothing to fear, nothing to see here. It's all okay. Go about your day, watch your football, drink your drink your drinks, and it's all good. That tells me it's definitely some military.
Well, on the was
I
it
would
New
think.
Jersey or New York? They said if one of them crashes, don't go near it.
Now, why would they say that? Yeah, like, what is that like?
Yeah.
So, and that to me was suspect thing number one.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, what are they doing? What is this a bigger?
Yeah.
What's the bigger play here? You know, what's the real deal here? What's the bigger play?
Yeah.
Because this just feels, all of it feels off to me.
Yeah.
And especially if we can get this stuff out of the sky, what are they doing that now nobody can see?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, you know, like these were supposedly flown over a lot of military bases, and you know, if you look up like the Daily Wire, I think we pulled up earlier, they've got this interactive map, and you can see that like over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which we know is like goes all the way back to Roswell. That's always been like a high top secret military Air Force base.
Isn't
right?
that where the giant ended up that they killed in Kandahar?
Is that where? Don't know. And did they track it that far to the States, or did they?
I think they did.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Well, and,
we're not supposed to know that though.
Right. Well, they just call us Looney Tunes anyway, you know, and that never happened, Ben. But like all the Roswell stuff, that's where all the allegedly all the Roswell stuff was, because before they had Area 51, which I forget when they built Area 51. But
they had Area 50.
Well, it's funny because like the whole Area 51 thing, you know why it's called that? It's like when you literally on a grid, they have just broken out the entire state into these huge areas, right? These huge sections that just happen to be 51, but they own like 52 and 53 and everything else. But they own like 2/3 of the state or some ridiculous amount of land. But before they had that, Wright-Pat was where everything went. Yeah. And it's still, I think,
centrally located.
Yeah, right. And still, even to this day, I think there are sections of the base that you have to have, you know, be unclassified.
Yeah.
You know, security clearance in order to get
was
access
it on Independence Day? I'm the president of the United States. Well, you can't go in there, you know.
Yeah. And that seems to be the way that this really plays. Yeah. Like, I think no president has ever, to anyone's knowledge, no president has ever set foot in Area 51.
Why would he?
I mean, that'd be like, if I got elected, it'd be like, well, guess what the first trip is?
Yeah. I mean,
which is going to be part B of the conversation today, which is what is going to happen, you know, with this new administration that's coming in. We'll get there, but
I view the president as saying, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, and the fact is, like, let's cut through the crap here. This dude's a civilian. Yeah, you know, he's a civilian, and we're going to tell him some things, but he ain't going to have access to everything. There's no way. Yeah. I mean, when you've got senators, and because they're civilians too, right? Like, you got senators and congressmen and women, but you've even got high-ranking military people that have been told, you're not getting that information. Yeah. You don't need to know that. Yeah. Well, we've got this well documented. Yeah. And people that have been told not to talk. And
my question is, who's the like man pulling the strings? I mean, is it for your safety, or is it, well, as my mind automatically goes
who's
to
the wizard behind the curtain?
Yeah, it goes all the way to Genesis 6, of course. But
who's the Earth Master?
Yes.
Yeah. The puppet master on the earth. I don't know. I think it's probably a lot of people. I think it all goes back to, I really don't, I don't think it's as hidden as what we think it is. I look at the Davos, Switzerland crowd, and I'm like, I think you got your answer.
Yeah.
Because they really don't hide.
No, they don't.
There's no reason to. Everything's right out in their face, right out in the open. There's very little attempt to hide anything anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, when they can go and have a meeting every year in the same place and talk about how they're going to manipulate the entire world's currency and have us own nothing by 2030 and like it.
I just thought The Simpsons did that.
The Simpsons. It's like French for CIA foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Predictive programming in action.
Yeah.
There's some creepy things that have happened on there.
I know.
But speaking of, because we've had some Trump foreshadowing on that show too. So thanks for the great segue.
No problem.
This was the first place that I turned to because I was fairly confident in this, and I was right when I looked. And I learned this a long time ago, but the president-elect, the minute they know that the election's pretty much a done deal and they've ratified everything, which is where we are.
Yeah.
And that happened fairly early on this year because there was a pretty good trouncing. And I think that trouncing even was a trouncing that occurred after there was probably attempted cheating, just like there was back in 2020. But this particular, I went straight to Trump because I know that he had been getting security briefings. The incoming president-elect starts to get security briefings pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
That way they're not getting, they hit day one in office in January 20th. And it's like, hey, sit down for the next 5 days.
He's already working.
Right. Let's catch you up on everything. So I know that he's been getting security briefings. And I would think in his particular case, because there's only been one other time in history that we've had a reelected president that's kind of in between terms. He's already going to have security.
Wasn't that Glover Cleveland?
I believe it was.
If I can say his name right.
I did not know that until the election because I thought this was the first time ever. But yes, there was one other president. I think it was Grover Cleveland.
That's kind of hard to say.
It can be a little tricky.
Glad it's not just me.
No. So I went to him because I wanted to know what Trump had to say about this because I know he's been getting security briefings. And I have based on everything that we're seeing on the incoming administration, we're going to see things take place, I believe, the way that everything is lining up in this incoming administration that we have never seen before in our country's history. So I want to play this video. We're going to have a couple different videos today that we want to play and then talk about, just kind of go through this. But Sherry, we see you. Thank you for your comment. Hand pink waving, face blue smiling, back at you. Thank you for joining us. Glad that you could this week. So we will share this really quick.
I would like to know what his administration is going to do. This would be nice.
It's going to be doggone interesting. So we'll play this and then we'll talk about it. So obviously they've questioned him at this particular point just to lead up about the drones. You might even hear the question. I think I left it where you might hear the question.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it.
Okay, that's the first thing that I zeroed in on when I'm like, that's a weird statement.
Yeah.
If it's a garage, they know right what garage. So that to me was strange. And he said right out of the gate, like, and you can kind of tell by his body language and his tone of voice, like he's kind of flustered and irritated because one, he knows that he can't say too much for security reasons, probably. But two, he can clearly tell, and this continues on as we watch, that he doesn't understand why we're being so secretive with stuff. Now, this is obviously he's basing his statement on what he's being told.
Yeah.
Came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
Joe might
I
know.
can't imagine it's the enemy because
Joe
if it was the
doesn't know.
enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
The eyeglasses industry doesn't want you to know about this. There's a new pair of self-adjustable glasses out there, and they let you achieve.
Understandably, there's a lot.
Well, I think that was it. So yeah, that's video number 1, and you can see there some weird comments and weird things being made. Because on the first part, it's like he obviously knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But then on the second part, he kind of acted like he didn't know what was going on,
Yeah.
and like he doesn't understand the secrecy, and like
Yeah, they know. Like I agree, they know where they know.
Yeah.
And I bet if you were to look at them, they would say US of A on there.
yeah,
Yeah. I just have this feeling.
made in China.
But I think they know, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give too much away. Just
Well, no, I mean it's open forum. We can
so
cover what ground we want to cover, but now, yeah. So it just seemed the whole thing seems very odd to me. The fact that they're over military bases, and anytime we go back and we look at all the UAP stuff too, where do they always wind up?
Yeah,
always wind up over a military base.
Yeah.
And now that's an interesting question, because why do you think that is? I have my own theory, but I want to hear what yours is first.
Over the military bases?
Yeah, why do you think they're over the military bases?
The drones?
Well, I think UAPs and drones and UAPs historically.
Just with my tinfoil hat on, I think they're over protecting us. The bases, they're us protecting us.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
I think because maybe it's a 2-part question, because I think for me, the UAP side, which we both believe that would be, angelic and demonic in nature, one way or the other, combo pack. I think that what happened was when we invented nuclear weapons, I think that was something where the enemy was like, we have to watch this very closely, because they could potentially technologically get themselves into a spot where they could accelerate God's timeline, where he has to intervene in order to,
that's
pull the plug.
Never thought about that. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a we want this to operate under it. We're not ready yet. We want to build a better army first. And so it was kind of them intervening. And that kind of fits too with them shutting down the systems. And it was kind of like, hey, letting us know we can do this anytime we want.
Yeah.
And some of the stories like that, shooting missiles out of the sky with laser beams and crazy stuff when you go dig into some of the stories. But just a theory. Can't rubber stamp that one and say, hey, for sure that's the case, but it fits to me. So in this particular case, I don't know how you can not think this is military, because like with the drones, because why would we let this stuff fly over a military base and not shoot it down?
Or the US or all
in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know we had the weather balloon and the ridiculous,
and we took that down,
yellow school bus of death floating over with balloons and stuff, which was just weird in itself. And there were 2, right? Then we had the other one that came over like Alaska and went into Canada, I think, or something.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just wacko.
Yeah. I think the drones are us doing something that they don't want. What are they fighting?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Now that brings us to kind of the second part of this deal, because you've been looking into this more than I have. So
I would say,
were sharing some stuff.
I'd say
your mother-in-law's been looking
Maria
into
and her mom have.
That's okay.
Because she asked me, Maria's like a week or 2 ago, what do you think about all these drones and stuff? I'm like, it's the government.
It's so weird because it's like I recognize that for me, there's like a numbness to it.
Yeah.
Like there's hardly anything that you would throw at me now that I would not. It would be like, oh my gosh, I never saw that coming.
Yeah.
So there's like a this sort of not. I mean, I'm interested, but kind of a disinterested numbness a little bit to it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't surprise me, because I see the bigger picture of things. So there's kind of like I have like this weird numbness that's the same. And there's a numbness on the other side too, but that numbness is there's like, like a kid that's been given too much Thorazine and they're just like drooling at the mouth and they don't pay any attention to anything that's going on, have no biblical worldview perspective whatsoever, let alone a Genesis 6 worldview. And the fact that we're in an end times war that's quickly accelerating.
This is okay. Coming up with this, and this will be a good segue. We were talking about this yesterday with the drones and things, and the other phenomenon that's happening around.
Mm-hmm.
And this week is the start of Hanukkah, which would be actually Hanukkah starts on Christmas Day this year. That would have been the same time that Mary conceived. Now,
Yeah, did you get that all? Conceived. Not gave birth. Conceived. Christmas is pagan. Sorry to break it to you.
Yes.
We won't even talk about your trees.
No, Nimrod boners.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sorry, folks. But that's when she conceived. And let's think about this. The light of the world. You know, he was the light of the world and he was conceived during Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
That's God works amazingly. 9 months from then would be September. When it's 9 months from now, it's the Feast of Trumpets. So is this a precursor? Could it be the return?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, we're getting ready to start the 70th Jubilee because this last Feast of Trumpets was heralding in the 70th Jubilee, which is due to start, I think, in March at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's again, looking at this from a different lens, right? The world's going to stop at the drone thing. They're going to be like, well, this is weird. What are all these drones doing? You know, and they're like, oh, a bunch of people got together and flew their drones and they're just trying to freak everybody out. And like, nah, let's dig into this more.
And thanks to my mother-in-law and Maria, they dug and dug. I'm sure a lot of other people are digging as well.
Yeah,
I think there are.
Like Adrian's been more probably digging into it a little bit more than I have even.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, good segue to point number 2 here. So I'll show a video, and this was actually put up 4 days ago, and it claims to be this woman zooming in on one of them, like, because it's not just drones, right? There's been these orbs as well. It doesn't say when the video was actually made, but it was put up 4 days ago. So, and credit to Tales from the Out There, which is where this comes from. So we'll go ahead and we will play this tab, and we'll show this one and kind of do this. So yeah, you're going to see here this woman zooms in on one of these weird orbs, because we've had these weird orbs floating around everywhere too, in addition to drones. And here's what happens. So I'm going to pause here for those that are listening, right? Because we're going to have some that can't see this, but we would encourage you to go to the tfhc.com, and you can check out some of the video there. You can actually also go to YouTube, and you can go to Rumble, and you can watch this as well, because this one's going to be one you're going to want to watch a little bit to see some of this. But I will describe it for you in case you're in the car and you're listening and you can't see it. So she zoomed in on one of these orbs, and it literally is like has this. It looks like a force field to me.
Yeah,
imagine
it looks like a floating eyeball too.
Yeah, kind of a little bit. But it imagine like if you were looking at an orange, and you know how like on the one side of the orange you have where the vine was connected, or was connected to the tree. You kind of have a really bright spot there, and then these like thing is pulsing out from that.
Yep.
And so then she's going to start talking to this thing here in a second, and this is where it gets really, really wacky.
See if I can zoom in more. I know I can, but my fingers don't work.
And it's kind of morphing in shape a little bit, you know,
Sorry,
guys. Not staying perfectly circular. It's kind of, but that could be the force field around it. It's almost like like you ever put your hands on one of those that's got electricity running through, like a ball, and it'll track where your hands are. That's kind of the vibe that's coming off of this thing, just in more like white electricity kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
That's kind of cool. Can you talk to me? Can you hear me? Jesus loves me.
It's so weird. So like, again, if you're listening and you're not watching, so it didn't respond to anything else, but the minute she says that, and now the current around floating around this orb is now going crazy. So this continues on as you hear her talk.
Oh, you know Jesus. You know Jesus.
Oh, she's talking to it like it's
Jesus is
5.
awesome, isn't he? Yes, he is. God is good.
And again, it responds.
God is good. God is good.
Still responding.
Man, that's crazy.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, so we'll pause there because that's pretty much the gist of the video. So, what do you make of that, dude? I mean, you just showed me that upstairs, so like you're pretty. You guys are seeing that pretty much just right after I did.
I was like, well, that's some. I believe it's a celestial being.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's it might look like a ball of energy to us, but obviously it's a living thing.
Yeah, it's got to be something. I mean, you would think, right? But it's kind of strange because I would say 10 years ago I would have agreed, but now I'm like, you have to wonder if it's not some kind of advanced AI, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of speculation, like even the Greys are not really.
Yeah.
They're just like, mechanical meat suits. But
since it responded
being
in
remoted.
Jesus' name.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, right? When God and Jesus, right? Adrian's funny. She commented here. She goes, "How is she so calm?" I laugh out loud. I'd be freaking out. I know she's talking to it like it's a puppy.
Yeah,
it's so weird. But yeah, it's like, what in the world is that?
And then I know there's some other videos that I shared, but
signs and wonders in the sky.
That's what Maria said. Signs and wonders, and I was like, and we are so close to 2030 too.
that date's only come up about 55,000 times on this show since we started. Hey, when do you think the end's going to come? Well, right around 2030.
Yeah.
It's so weird, man.
And if 9 months from now.
Yeah. So this goes back to the weird thing that we talked about when Trump got assassinated, which is strange. I know that seems like a weird tie-in, but the guy that had made the prediction about him getting shot in the ear and then saying that he was going to get reelected and saying he was going to be in the White House. Well, we're two of 3 predictions so far, but then the third prediction was the worst, which was things were going to go really, really bad, and he was going to be in the White House, like, really in the Oval Office. He had an image of him in the Oval Office and like not knowing what to do.
Yeah, wasn't it like a financial downfall?
Unlike war, I think it was just like the world is coming apart at the seams. Because I've had some really interesting conversations with people, and A and I have had this conversation too. And even her mom had a good talk with her mom about this, which is, for all of us that wanted the last 4 years to end because of how bad it was financially and just morality and just everything. I think we all kind of took a little bit of a collective sigh. Whether you voted for Trump or you didn't vote for Trump, but you didn't want Biden or not Biden, but Harris to be in there for 4 years. Everybody took a collective sigh. So, and I think now we have a tendency to let our guard down.
Yeah.
And the Bible tells us the complete opposite of like, it's, is this the peace before?
And I've had my guard up the whole time.
I know. I've never let mine down. I breathe that collective sigh because I know like at least that will be over. Like we won't have that hanging over our heads too.
I'm probably more different than most conservatives.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Like, especially with some of the things they're wanting to do.
Yeah. So that's kind of the wacky back end of this that we kind of get into too, because you've got this whole weird orb thing going on, and this is not just over military bases, but I think you had a video in here that was over the Pentagon, I think at one point.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I shared the Capitol building.
I think I've got the Capitol building in here, but I want to play some more video before we kind of roll into that side of like what this looks like in the future. But we've got Argentina, all these weird drone sightings as well.
The one with the spinning.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that one here. I think it's this one. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and we'll play this one next. So this is whacked out, man. So yeah, we'll share this video as well. And this is, I know what you said, and I thought something similar too, because this is really strange. when you watch this video and you zoom in on one of these weird orbs or whatever the heck we want to call the drone or whatever we're calling this thing.
Yeah.
But it is so weird. So let's go ahead and play this. So you can see this spherical object that has lights around it, but you can clearly see there is this like wheel that's rotating in the middle.
Yeah. And
this is a TikTok video. And what this person actually says, the hashtags down here are seraphim, cherubim, ophanim, Nephilim, angels. This is obviously a lot of stuff to get a lot of hits. But because seraphim and cherubim and ophanim are very different things.
Yes. But if you were to look in Ezekiel chapter 1, it pretty much, I mean, it's a creature. It's some sort of, as Ezekiel said, a living creature.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like this wheel that he describes it as a wheel that has like heads and stuff on it. It's a trippy ride, man. So anyway, this person had zoomed in and you can clearly see this. The other one too, and I know we didn't have our live show with L.A. Marzulli, which we're going to get that rescheduled. We're working on that. L.A. had some massive wind issues where he was at and lost power, I think, for a while. So we'll work on getting him rescheduled. But, I just finished up reading his book, Rungs of Disclosure. And, it's funny how all of this timing wise, ties together. So hopefully we'll get to have him on fairly soon. But, you're looking at these things and it's like, or do we have two different things going on here? Kind of what you postulated, which I like. I don't want to get into now. Are the drones us, military, and these orbs non-military?
Yeah.
Some kind of actual spiritual entity of some kind, be it positive or negative, or maybe both.
Yeah.
And the military doesn't know. So go ahead into your theory there. I think it was interesting.
Well, with the one we just watched, that'd be God's creature.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against that, right?
That would be, and
so you talking about the one that was pulsing when she was talking to
no,
it?
the one we just watched.
Oh, the wheel
with inside
yeah.
the wheel. I mean, God sent that to Ezekiel, and he's like, "Son of man, get up, look at this," But my theory, I shared with Kyle and I shared with my wife yesterday. I was like, if you go back to, like Michael Heiser talks about this, where every land has its spiritual god. And Israel had God, and then they had Michael, the defender of Israel. And he defended Israel from everything. Like we know, Daniel prayed for 21 days and he never showed up because he was fighting the Prince of Persia. And he's like, finally makes, I'm sorry, I was, fighting the spiritual battle.
Yeah.
I think America, we do not have a defender. Mm-hmm. We are such a godless nation. You can agree, disagree, I don't care. You can choose to be wrong, but we are a godless nation.
Get a high five from me, brother.
We are a godless nation. We do not have a defender. When you do not have a defender, who defends you? Your king. Who's the king? Trump. I'm not saying he's the king, but
the head.
The head.
Yeah.
So he uses his military. And when God is sending things, I believe these are... according to the Bible, the last one we watched was of God. And these drones are fighting these things and they're not winning. There's videos, I think I shared you some videos of a drone that slammed into one of these orbs and it fell. Kind of like signs where the bird flies into the ship and falls down.
Yeah.
And if we are fighting a spiritual celestial being with physical means, we are going to lose every time.
Yeah. And it seems like every time historically when we would go up and try to do something, we would always end up, it was a joke.
Yeah.
I kind of found this section in that you referenced in Ezekiel. We had this pulled up and I will read this right now. And this is a vision that Ezekiel is having. And this is right in Ezekiel 1. And he's seeing all these weird critters and creatures, and he's trying to describe this, as best he can in whatever, I forget how many years BC we're talking, a while back. But I'm going to go to verse 13 and just kind of pick up there just for the sake of time. But As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, like the appearance of torches going back and forth from among the living creatures. The fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning, and the living creatures ran back and forth in appearance like a flash of lightning. And we'll read the rest here in a second. Sorry about that. Had to cough. A wheel was on the earth beside each living creature with its 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their workings was like the color of beryl, B-E-R-Y-L, and all 4 had the same likeness. So what is the color of beryl? Do you know off the top of your head?
No.
I want to say, oh, this is fun. Okay. Guess I'm not going to use my keyboard today. That's all kinds of whacked out. Well, we'll figure that out later.
How do you spell it?
B-E-R-Y-L. And all 4 had the same likeness. The appearance of their workings was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they moved, they went toward any one of the 4 directions. They did not turn aside when they went. As for their rims, they were so high. They were awesome, and their rims were full of eyes. And around the 4 of them, when living creatures went, the wheels went beside them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Wherever the spirit wanted to go, they went, because when the spirit went, the wheels were lifted together with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Then those went, these went, and those stood. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together. So this is like, beryl is like a, looks like a green, kind of an aqua green color.
Yeah, they go in like multiple color too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can get them in different colors: green, blue, yellow, pink, and red. Which interesting that yellow, because that's kind of the yellow was the color of the thing that was pulsing, like this is explaining. Yeah. So it's just crazy how it seems to be describing some of this stuff.
And do people think this is just a crusty, dusty old book?
I know, man. It's funny.
You know what? I'm like, when we've been talking about this, like our family, and it's like, I don't know. Now that I'm talking, I'm getting excited. Does it make sense? Like,
because you feel like it's more signs of like getting near the end.
Yeah, it's like this is. Wake up, folks. This is happening, whether you want to believe it or not.
It's amazing. That's the thing that, we tend to read the death and destruction in Revelation, but one of the things that goes by us that you're referencing right there is it's amazing to me that any human being could see and experience the things that are said in there.
Yeah.
And not go, what a fool I've been.
Yeah.
That I didn't believe any of this.
Yeah.
That they are going to be so deceived and so indoctrinated into satanic Luciferian thinking, that is the main nectar of the world that they'll feed you, that you can't even see.
Yeah.
That's just insane to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we've taken the red pill, but
yeah, I know.
It's just like, man, you need a bag of red Skittles.
Like, my wife, she's staying with her daughter next couple days. She's like, great, I'm going to be out of town just in case we get invaded or the end happens. She's like trying to figure out how quick I can get back home.
I don't think they'll start in Indiana, but you never know. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So what do you think? Because you obviously think that, this is the drones are us.
Yes.
And then these creatures. So do you think that you have both celestially positive beings and negative beings that are involved here? Is this kind of like a
what if
an aligning for battle that's taking place?
Or what if God is getting ready to judge us?
All right, go into that a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
He's sending us these signs.
Okay. To get ready to go through.
We've had a year of signs.
A year. We've been doing this show for that longer than that. There's been signs going on before that.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That it just keeps building up. And usually God gives people plenty of signs before he does. He's like, I'm done with you. I wash my hands. I'm done.
Yeah.
And what if this is just another sign that God's telling the remnant Be prepared,
Be prepared.
watchful.
Get your oil.
Get your oil, yes. And the start of Hanukkah is coming, so get your oil.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government, being the bad guys, thinks they can stop it. And maybe that's why Trump is so quiet. Maybe they're like, well, this is not of this world, and that's always the big push. It's not of this world. It's an invasion. Is it really an invasion when God is coming back to claim what is rightfully His?
Yeah, no, it's not. The invasion is what they tell us is it's always flipped over.
Yeah,
right. It's always a counterfeit version of something.
Yeah.
So good is bad and bad is good.
Yeah.
We see this over and over again in any kind of spiritual warfare. And the gaslighting that takes place to get someone so indoctrinated, like I said a second ago, that they can't see reality happening when it's right in front of their face.
Yeah.
And we've had, this goes way back, but we gaslighting hit a new level back 4 years ago when we went through what we went through.
Yeah.
And anybody that came out of that and now can look back at that event and think that we're still the crazy people.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're the crazy person because you refused to listen and see what was happening right in front of your face. These people literally went on the television every single day and lied straight to your face and gaslit you and projected. They did every trick in the book that an abuser does, and you guys ate it up.
Yeah. Like that movie. Watched, what is it? I've just watched it. The dead don't die. The dead don't die. And the background was like pretty much none of it's the government's fault. The government's continuing to, that was the whole.
But played for laughs.
Yes, but because that's truthful. That's what it really is. I mean, and it is a good movie. I love a good stupid zombie movie.
Yeah, I was saying upstairs like it was a one-time watch for me, but some of that was funny. The one that I liked a lot that I could probably watch again and again, just because there's so much sad truth and the same kind of thing about poking fun at everybody, how society works and the government, was Don't Look Up.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you have to watch Don't Look Up.
Is it similar to what's going on right now?
Yes. Yes, it kind of is, because you have these two camps where it's like, I can imagine, you once you get hip to the game of deception, right, that they do, they could take anything and twist it to try to make it seem like it's not what it really is.
Yeah.
No matter how obvious it is, they will twist it and do some kind of weird spin and come up with the most outlandishly crazy crap that you've ever dreamed of. Like, they go back to Roswell and they've revisited Roswell. I love how that we always like people. Okay. If you're somebody that lines up to accept the government investigating itself with their findings, I question your sanity.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that they're going to tell you stuff.
Did you see, I know this is kind of getting off track, but not really. When Trump was on Rogan and he was talking about the JFK file, and he said, wouldn't have done any good releasing the information.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that either, because
a lot of people told me that a lot of great people, really great people, people I trusted that told me that I just really shouldn't release it. And I listened. And
he was like, for
really smart people.
But he said the betterment of the country would have been better, not to be. Whatever.
He's kind of like Marlon Brando with a concussion. Yeah. It's kind of like you mix the two together. Sorry.
But he never went to the mattresses.
Yeah, that's right. And he never went to the mattresses. We do have our Eduardo, and I didn't mean to cut you off. So finish
that was done. I was done.
Oh, it's so funny. Eduardo, we do see your comments coming in over here. So you're talking about a lot of the translational issues, which honestly enough, it was funny because I was doing some cross-referencing. And what I actually read was the New King James, which I never use the King James. I don't like the King James. But, it gets us where we needed to go. And I noticed it after I started reading. So I'm like, I'm not going to take the time to change. We get the gist. But you actually saying in here, Eduardo, that translators were confused. You have to read Ezekiel in the Septuagint, which I would agree that I would go back. In my personal opinion, after doing a lot of study, and I think I don't want to speak for you, so you tell me if I misquote what I believe where you're at with this, but I the vast majority of our Bibles are actually based around the Masoretic texts. And the Masoretic texts, I'm just going to say it, are really, well, I was going to use a harsh term, but I'll tone it down, are not good.
Yeah.
The Septuagint is what everybody really needs to be using, or a Bible translation that is based on the Septuagint.
Or just read as many Bibles as you can.
Yeah, that's good too.
That's what my son does.
Yep, that's good too.
He buys 2 translations and reads them at a time.
Yeah, you can actually go on the Bible app too, and you can put next to each other. I just noticed this the other day. I didn't even know she could do this. And I felt like an idiot because I'm pretty tech savvy, and I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. So that's awesome to be able to like compare and contrast.
Yeah.
And it is amazing how vastly different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny too, like as you get into this and like, if you're listening to this, the vast majority of you who are listening to us, our show, or maybe you're just getting into this or whatever, you're more than likely part of the remnant.
Yeah.
You've taken the red pill, you see what is going on, and you are noticing that God's word is coming more and more true by the day.
Yeah.
And every way that you can imagine, scientifically, practically, historically, physically, I mean, just everything.
Now visually.
and now visually played out right in front of our faces.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it is. It's like,
how does that make you feel? If that is God's living creature, how does that make you feel?
I'm kind of numb to it. I think the reason I'm numb to it a little bit is because I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not an excitable guy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, that's just not who I am. Most of the time. I'm not an excitable guy. I didn't see it myself. And then 3, I believe God's word.
Yeah.
And no matter how crazy the translations are or whatever, it's still crazy to read.
Yeah.
Right. We've got some weird stuff going on, and you can see many other places in the Bible too, where we've got descriptions that are beyond imagination of things. Right. And I'm like, I believe God's word. So when I see it in, I guess, through a medium where there's kind of a disassociation for me, maybe a little bit. And so, but there's a part of me where it's like, yeah, I believe it. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, that doesn't, I mean.
Now, if it was out front and doing its thing and I could physically go out and see it, I would probably feel very differently. I would be much more tangible to me at that point because I'm like, I watched it with my own eyes. Like you and Adrian got to see the UFO and I've never seen anything. Right. So she came back in and she's like kind of freaked out, and I'm just kind of like sitting in the chair going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe you. I'm like, I don't doubt for 1 second.
That was weird.
Yeah.
And we mean UFO by unidentified flying.
Yeah, like this is not a drone.
Yeah, and that wasn't a plane.
It's not a plane.
It looked like
based on what you guys described.
It looked like a Imperial Star Destroyer.
So crazy.
Yeah,
but no sound.
It was just like,
yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like one of the things when I was watching the spherical thing.
Yeah.
The only other thing I thought of, but I don't think this is the case. The only other thing I thought of is like, I'm a guy that also believes Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
As I was preparing for the show with LA and reading his book, which I would recommend, Rungs Disclosure. It's a good book. It's kind of like a good way to describe it would be like LA Marzulli Greatest Hits compiled book.
Yeah.
So it's a good book to kind of get to from that perspective. But he was kind of talking in there about I think the deliberate deception that has been passed along about the extraterrestrial, literally from another star system and planet, Zeta Reticuli. There's another one that I don't remember off the top of my head. That these beings come from these particular star systems and stuff, and I think that has been a deliberate misleading to get people to think that they are literally extraterrestrial and not spiritual in nature.
Yeah,
I think that was a deliberate disinformation campaign.
Yeah, when we talked, if you missed it, when we talked to Zen last week, he kind of brought that up with the Samaritan text and things.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, they're gonna do what they need to do to throw you on the path they want you on.
Yeah.
So, and I find it interesting too that everybody always tries to say that the Samaritan texts are the oldest, and not the Bible.
I know,
and I'm like, that's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I know.
It doesn't. It's just
Well, they have all this proof.
Okay. You mean like the proof? What the proof that they want to acknowledge?
Yeah.
That they want to lean into and try to make real.
Yeah.
But they won't, acknowledge the fact when they find vast oceans of water underneath our crust of the earth, underneath the oceans.
Really?
That they don't want to acknowledge, but that could be maybe the Bible said back in Genesis.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. So that kind of, full circle around, we'll spend the last kind of little bit of time here. This, okay, because you and I are a little bit different here on the Trump thing. Neither of us are pro-Trump. Let's just do that. We're not pro-Trump, but I'm definitely not pro what was going to happen if we didn't have Trump. I was not pro that at all. So, kind of a bad decisions all the way around. But I will say, and I want to get your take, because we haven't really talked. This has kind of been the first time we've really had to sit down and had a show together for a while.
Yeah.
With this kind of stuff, and with the fact that he's coming in, he's a lame duck from day one, which means he can do whatever he wants. Right? He doesn't have any ramifications of, other than, legacy or whatever, because that's how guys are. But they are lining up to do some things that I have never seen, and I don't think anyone alive has seen in our time, other than maybe the 60s with JFK, and we know how that ended.
Yeah.
The things that they are talking about doing, have you been encouraged by?
No.
You see it as a more problematic?
Yeah.
So, like, I look at it looks like we want to basically destroy the regulatory agencies and some of these things, and I'm all for that.
Well, I'm talking about the tariffs on other countries.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to go along the same lines as what he did before. He did that before.
I know. And
see, I'm all for that, because I'm like, that's constitutional.
For me, as far as, like, since we have no manufacturing, it's going to kill prices for everything. Most,
I think the whole point of that is to bring the manufacturing back.
But it takes years.
It does. It's going to take longer than 4 years.
It's going to take decades. And then when he's gone in 4 years, they're going to go right back to where it was.
Yeah.
So
maybe. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens after the 4.
Probably one thing I've seen a lot of mechanics saying it's going to just pretty much kill the.
Interesting.
It's what was cheap now is going to be like 300 or 400 times more than what it's going to be. I
would like to get a list of what's cheap right now.
That's exactly. They're hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
For, let's just say a $65 part, probably add $300 to $400 on that.
We'll see, I guess. I hope not.
And because they've got to cover that cost somehow.
Right. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're the ones that always pay for everything.
Yes. And so I don't care how much money you're making, you're going to get screwed.
Yeah. The other thing too that it seems like, and I know we're seemingly getting off track, but this is going to come back to, no, Adrian said no sound. I don't know. Hopefully, can you all hear us? Hopefully you can hear us. But either way, we're going to keep rolling. We should have sound. I don't know why we don't. So,
or wonder if that was about the UFO.
Oh, could be. Well, I played it more than 5 minutes ago, so I don't know. Let's see.
I know about when we saw it. When her and I.
Oh, yeah, it could be. My face is probably getting red. I'm like, no, we don't have any sound. But I think that, on the disclosure front is really where I was leading this conversation. So we'll just go ahead and go there now. So I don't want to get too far off the weeds.
No, I'm sorry.
Do you think, no, I did that, not you, but do you think we're going to have more on the disclosure front with like the JFK thing? And
I don't think so.
And like this stuff.
I think, what was the famous, when, Dave Chappelle said, I played their game. Now I'm going to go play with them in the White House.
Yeah. You're talking about the opening skit for SNL.
Yes.
That was amazing.
I think that's what he's going to do.
That's amazing. So the only man I've ever seen inside playing the poker game comes out front, tells everybody exactly what's happened, and then goes back in and plays the game again.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
I don't think there'll be much disclosure. I would like to think that, but I don't think it would be the disclosure that most people want. I mean, they're gonna kick the ball around for a while.
Yeah.
But they're not going to get behind. They're not going to say who or what is actually behind all of this.
Well, I think that the other thing too is like it kind of goes back to what we said earlier too. I guess they're going to be locked out of a lot of stuff. They're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to know anyway.
Yeah.
You know, they can play their little, you know, pluck apart the government games, which I'm all for. Like government has turned into a disgustingly bloated monster that's so far beyond what the original vision was. It's not even recognizable anymore.
Yeah, I would, man.
Going after people too. I'm all for a lot of the things that they're talking about doing.
And he never drained the swamp the first time.
No, because the swamp is full of snakes and gators, and the snakes and gators eat you.
And that's the
interesting thing to watch is I so far have been encouraged by what I've seen, because the talk is big. They're talking about doing stuff that, you know, the only time I've ever seen in recent history was Kennedy. But I also kind of felt like it was Kennedy and, you know, Bobby and JFK, and they went, you know, we know how that worked out.
Yeah.
This is different because it's like we're surrounding ourselves with all kinds of people. So what are you going to do? Kill all of them?
Yeah.
How's that going to work? So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. But I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
I
felt like with the election, God gave us another chance. And that seems strange because I'm not trying to hitch the star so much to the Trump thing, because I'm not. But it was like to give us the break from what was going to happen if we kept these people in office.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my gosh, can you imagine them 4 years, lame duck, unbridled, whatever they want to do? I mean, she wouldn't be lame duck, I guess. She would have been the first 4 years, but
yeah,
they would have felt like they could do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
That is terrifying to me what they were going to do.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I felt like God's and this is maybe a further sign of like, I gave you another chance. What are you going to do with it? Signs and wonders, right? I don't know.
Be.
Are you going to turn, because you said we're a godless nation, and I agree with you. Are you going to stop killing your kids and turn back to me?
But if they're attacking him.
Well, but they're attacking him, right? The ones that are killing the kids and then all this and that, right? They're attacking him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's all of it. There's something happening, and there's something coming.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just drones in the sky.
No, it's something big.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a big one on you know, I don't like some of the things they're doing. I'll just say that. So
yeah, that's okay. I mean, we'll see.
They're taking away some freedoms. So
I haven't personally seen anything where we've taken it away.
Well, with as far as like the health stuff,
the Maha stuff.
Yeah.
He seems like he's going after like the drug hallelujah.
And also all the food companies as well. Be going
hallelujah for that too. I'm all for it.
But I'm like, this is the same thing that the Democrats did back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s with the big gulps and stuff.
Oh yeah, that
this is where I compare. All the Republicans were against it
because it wasn't their idea.
No, because the Democrats were doing it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And now that they're doing it, it's, to me, if we are free to do whatever.
Yes, I agree with you. So we'll see where this goes. The difference that I will say between the two is in that particular instance before, because I remember what you're talking about, it was like New York where they were going to ban the big gulps and all this and that. And you had because it was the Obama.
And I love.
Yeah, it didn't love you back though.
No.
Yeah. Because you're talking about this was like Obama and Michelle, and they were running the hell. The difference that I see between the two is in that particular instance, they were trying to regulate choice and regulate us.
Yeah.
This is not regulate us. This is actually go after and have proper regulation and regulatory governance over these companies that are manufacturing our food and poisoning us to death.
Yeah, I agree.
So to me, it's two different things.
And
the slippery slope is because I also don't like the fact that I don't want the government in my life.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do here. So far, I'm a Maha fan. I will see what they do.
I was I was against them banning smoking in bars, and I don't smoke, and I don't go to bars.
Yeah, again, there's two things
because what's next? And that's how I agree with you. That's how I always thought. And I'm like, and then they tax the cigarettes. I don't smoke, don't use tobacco, but they're taxing these companies that they're in bed with.
Yeah, well, what happened there was the outcry for regulation from the public became stronger than the influence that was coming from the tobacco lobby.
Yeah.
And they turned on them.
Yeah.
And what did they do when they turned on them? Where did they turn to? They turned to the pharmaceutical and insurance lobbies.
Yeah.
And now that's who runs the country.
Yeah.
Because before it was big oil, it was big pharma.
And we are a lot worse.
Big auto.
We're a lot worse than we were.
Or big oil, big tobacco, big pharma.
I rather
pharma again.
I'd rather have big oil and big tobacco than big pharma.
I don't want big anything. I want them all to be little.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I know. That's the thing. I saw a great
Pharmakia.
Pharmakia, baby. It's always bad. I saw a great comedian one time where he said he felt like politicians should be like NASCAR teams where they have to wear all patches on their suits.
I do too.
That says all the different companies that sponsor them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wickedly evil, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to see what happens here between, first of all, I know it seems like January 20 is right around the corner, but there's a lot of time between here and January 20.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you had mentioned something earlier before we hit record too that's kind of interesting to dive in and talk about that I had not heard. And we can do a quick look really quick. You said that Putin, when did he make the announcement to have all the Russians come back?
December 10th.
So that was on December 10th?
10th or 11th, I think.
All right. Why is my keyboard not working? That's fun. I don't know what's going on here. Well, okay. Maybe we won't. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just not working down here for some reason. It's really weird. Let's try to do this. Nope. No worky. So what exactly did he say?
Just warned them to come home, I think. I mean,
do you think he's interesting? Again, we were talking a little bit before we hit record today, and he was talking about we were talking about like where does he fit into everything we've talked about today?
Yeah,
like what does he know? What part of the game is he?
I think if you're a leader of the country, you know things.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, the dude came up in the KGB, man. It's the CIA equivalent in Russia. I mean, come on. The dude was a high up in the KGB.
Yeah, birds salute him when he walks by.
Yes. El presidente. I guess that would be Spanish.
It's all the same.
Whatever.
I think Murray, because Maria was talking about that.
Yeah.
I don't see it though.
I don't know. We'd have to dig into it, and that's okay. We can.
Yeah, that's all right.
Still talk about it without.
But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't affect us, does it?
Yes. Well, it's just like, you go and like when you get into the ufology things and you start digging into all this stuff that everybody will tell you that like Germany had stuff back in World War II.
Because we even
China's got stuff, Russia's got stuff, that they have craft, they have bodies, probably they have stuff.
Yeah.
Lazar had a great story, like when he was out working in area S4 or whatever it was in area 51, and he's working on the propulsion system for this craft, and he knew that there were Russian scientists that were working with them on something, and they made a big discovery, and promptly all the Russians were sent home.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're not sharing that. Bye now.
So that thing we watched with spinning?
Yeah.
Do you think that could crash land, and that is what it was, and that's what they got?
No.
I'm just
the reason I say that is because I think more than likely some of what we saw was not of malevolent nature. I think it was not malevolent, where these things are malevolent.
Yeah.
And there's the historical, thing that says that Eisenhower went to
the treaty.
The base in Texas, made the treaty with, these entities.
Yeah.
And the agreement was, we get technology. It was like Genesis 6 again.
Yeah.
We get technology and they get access to do abductions and animals and experimentation and everything. And, all that lines up. And that's another one. If you want to go listen to our show, well, I guess you can't because that's not out yet. And we took the live down. We typically only leave the live up for maybe about a week. Sometimes they run longer if they're really popular. But we had a great talk with Karen Wilkinson.
Yeah.
And Karen Wilkinson says that's very much the case.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's something when we talk to LA, we'll get into more with him too, because, all the cattle mutilations and the animal mutilations and these weird abductions of the animals, and they seemingly are operated on, and there's no blood and weird stuff's taken, and like it's all surgical, and that is all part of the abduction stuff. And this is all, it all ties together.
Yeah. I was just asking because it could be something similar.
Yeah. I think that, I don't think any of that stuff maybe has crashed or whatever. I think whatever we've gotten has actually been, maybe it came from a crash, but I think it was malevolent in nature.
So they built a 57 Chevy of their own.
And yeah, right. Johnny Cash style, one piece at a time.
Yeah. I mean, they can create
51, 52, 53, 54, 55.
I mean, I shouldn't say they can create. They can, I'm sure they have knowledge of making things and being able to do things.
Do you think in some of these ancient cultures where we see, do you think that there are clear signs in some of the hieroglyphs, when you look at some of the carvings and the reliefs and the hieroglyphs, that there was a visitation of some kind in craft?
I think there always has been.
Yeah, I don't know why there wouldn't be.
Because, Elijah's chariots of fire, when he was taken up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, they're going
to describe it with what they know.
Yeah.
But it's going to be.
I think.
We would describe it.
Yeah. We don't know what that world looks like.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of, like, our world, everything's similar. We all have planes, cars, boats. That world's probably similar as they have things to travel in.
Yeah.
To go, and it probably has the ability to rent the veil somehow.
Yeah, transition back and forth between our realm and the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
What we would refer to as the spiritual realm.
Yes.
Another dimension, potentially.
Yeah. But, I mean, how thin is the spirit? The spiritual realm is so thin, though.
Yeah, it is very thin. I don't know.
It's... what is it? An eyelid, pretty much, right? I mean, just to open and close your eyes to see something new.
Yeah, and I think people have the ability. Some people have the ability to actually see into the spiritual realm.
Yeah,
I think we see that gifting in the Bible.
Yeah,
we read some of it in Ezekiel.
Yeah,
we read more in Isaiah. A lot of the prophets had that ability. I think people modern day have that ability. It's just I don't know. I think it is an ability thing. I don't think that they can necessarily exist in the physical realm or the spiritual realm, rather, the other dimension, where these entities can transition back and forth between the two without any seemingly problem.
Yeah, they have the means to do so.
Yeah, it's like, we've had multiple descriptions of like Bigfoot. We don't talk about Bigfoot a lot on the show. I don't know it's necessarily either one of our jams, but like there's a ton of like...
I mean, we will entertain it.
Yeah, no, like I definitely think something's up. I mean, too many people have seen too many things. And the other thing too, that a lot of times you get is there's always typically some kind of UAP or UFO sighting.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they will say that these things just dematerialized and just poof, gone. So this entity, whatever it is, seemingly can transition back and forth.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because if you have, when you go and you look at through Genesis 6 lens, what were they doing? You can see even in Genesis that they were genetically manipulating animals.
Yeah.
And making critters.
Yeah.
To do their bidding, I'm sure, of some form or fashion. Well, if they're building a war or they're building an army for a war, why would that stuff magically have stopped?
I know. They're still building.
Now, here's the really magical $1 million question. And I disagree with a lot of people who think that, a lot of these the entities are the watchers and they're coming back and somehow they've been able to get released from prison or they're communicating from their prison or whatever. That I don't believe that. To me, that doesn't jive. It seems like a massive oversight on God's part, and God doesn't have oversight.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you think that a lot of this stuff is more fallen angels? We've had more fallen angels that we don't read necessarily about in the Bible that have occurred.
Yeah, I mean, or they're the disembodied spirits.
Yeah. So then that's the other side of the coin is like if a gray is a meat sack, right?
Yeah.
We have a biological void thing, and that the Nephilim can inhabit that, the demon can inhabit that, so it's kind of a combo pack of things, right? But you obviously have to have angels, I would think, fallen angels at play here some way.
And Lucifer out like a roaring lion?
Yeah. Now that's an interesting thing too, because clearly he's confined to the earth, but that's a whole
nother show.
That is a whole nother show.
But
can transition back and forth between.
Obviously, he can still go see God.
Reality and the veil.
Because it says he stands in front of God day and night as the accuser of the brethren.
Are you talking Job?
No, Lucifer in Revelation.
Oh, in Revelation.
Yeah.
I forget, does it say that after it says he was cast down or whatever? Can't remember where that all comes to play.
It's not the final.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah. We're not talking about that on the show today.
Yeah. Not today's show. Catch us next time.
But I think fallen angels, Nephilim, I think it's who knows? I mean, well, they kind of postulate there was like 100,000 or more, maybe 700,000 Nephilim spirits.
Yeah. I don't know.
So you figure, we'll say 500,000. That's a lot.
Are they just kind of doing, I guess the genetic math would be maybe really be spitballing, I guess, on that one. But
but it's
a lot. I mean,
that's a lot. And what are they doing?
And then, you've got a 10th that were left.
Yeah. And they're just kind of,
or is that the 10th?
Yeah.
Could be.
But still, it's a small city.
Yeah.
And are they generally want to be left alone, or are they getting fed up and, hey, we want our time back?
Do you think you had more, I guess, go back to my question a little bit. Do you think we had more angels fall after the Genesis 6 event that we don't necessarily since that? Do you think we've had more angels fall since then? That have turned against God?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Do you think that's just because they're like, I'm not doing that, not touching that stove, too hot?
I think they're scared.
Yeah, because I don't see God taking away free will.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
because you got to think from God's perspective, the punishment has to be really harsh in order for them to.
See, we got into a whole discussion last weekend in our house about Solomon controlling demons with one of his rings. And this is like kind of ties into the Masons and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was one of his books of wisdom. And he learned, supposedly he learned all. And the guy to talk about this with is Zen.
Yeah.
But he learned all this stuff, and I guess he would torture him too to find out information.
Now you're talking about
King Solomon.
Yeah.
Because supposedly
had the rings and stuff.
Yeah, he would have like different rings, supposedly he fashioned this ring, but it was like a wristband that he would put on the giants to subdue them, and it said that he put a ring on Orion. And there's only one Orion that I know of.
Yeah,
the constellation.
Yeah,
and it said he was able to put a ring on him to control him.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What book is this?
One of the books of Solomon's that he wrote. I can't remember, but maybe Book of Wisdom or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not canon.
Yeah.
But that was probably
Canon.
That was probably too crazy for him. But because the whole premise was, well, you shouldn't be talking to those things.
Yeah.
My thinking, and I understand Solomon's thinking, was how can you fight something if you don't understand it?
Yeah, you can't.
You got to know your enemy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so that's probably what he was doing. But, I think that if he was able to capture them and do whatever with them, obviously they are a very physical being.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And why are we so flippant? We see something in the sky and we're like, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see. You zoom in and it describes what's in the Bible.
Yeah.
We need to wake up.
It's crazy because when you really think about what you just said, that should be like front page news.
Yeah.
That's just like our friend Paul Hansen that's done all the work on the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah.
He says it all the time of like, look, guys, they've pretty much said this is what it is. It is it is what it says it is.
Yeah.
And this should be front page news, and nobody's paying attention
because they won't believe it.
No, they won't. They've been so, it kind of goes back to how we started, full circle around to our original talk this morning or today, which is, people have been so brainwashed into disbelief and writing everything off as something different than what the Bible says it is, that they will, nothing you can say or do at this point is going to save some people.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thought.
Yeah.
And it's not a predestiny thing. It's just the fact that they've hardened their hearts so much that they will not listen and they will not turn.
And isn't this the time of the season where people believe in things like Santa?
Yeah. Santa.
We need to make a Hallmark movie that turns into somebody believing.
That's awfully close to Satan, isn't it?
And believing and converting and turning their life to Christ, and not what the church teaches.
The church.
That sounds bad.
No, it's not. It's true, though. Like we talked a second ago about canon, and now every time not because you said it, just every time I hear that,
I know
it makes me cringe because I'm like, canon.
Yeah.
Like dig into what you're saying. It's like canon. You mean the books that someone has chosen that is okay for you to read?
Yeah. Somebody else.
Like, isn't that kind of Hitlerish?
Or I'm going to ask, do they read science fiction? Do they read history? Do they read adventure? Do they read romance novels?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But what's the difference?
Yeah. To me, it's all crazy because it's like there are so many other and it's funny because one of the other things we have on the slate to talk about potentially at some point is like getting into a deeper dive into Qumran.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, I think, a really, really, really important discovery. And I think it was timing wise done just when God wanted it to be done for the purpose he wanted it to be done for the time of now.
Yeah.
Because it is an awakening point for the remnant.
Yeah.
Because nobody that is in the remnant, for the most part, that I have met and talked to, doesn't understand what's happening in Genesis 6.
Yeah.
And Genesis 1. Or Genesis 3, right?
Yeah, that's terrible. That's bad stuff. Let's stay away from that.
Yeah. So and until you understand that, you're not going to understand anything else. It's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
So good talk, Russ.
Good talk. Is it that time already?
Hour 22.
Oh, wow.
We have arrived. We've arrived at our destination. Destination weird.
I still think that the government is trying to fight God.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Now they've just taken it into a physical form.
Yeah, I agree. And they're up against something they have no idea.
And if God decides to...
Yeah, game over.
Game over.
So
I kind of want to see that.
Stay tuned, Ben.
I know that I don't want us to die, but because I was telling Maria, we had a long drive up to Fort Wayne last night, and I was thinking about, I think it's in Judges, I could be wrong, where they were going out to fight, and the tops of the trees started moving for them, and it was the army of God that went ahead of them and killed their enemies. I can't remember the address.
2 Samuel.
Okay.
2 Samuel 5:24.
Okay.
I think this is what you're talking about, so we'll look that up really quick. 2 Samuel 5 verses, well, we're going to go down to 24. We'll start in verse 17. This is about the Philistines. They're fighting the Philistines.
Yeah.
Now when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, and all the Philistines went up to search for David, and David heard of it and went down to the stronghold, the Philistines also went and deployed themselves in the valley of the Rephaim. So David, go figure.
Yeah.
So David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord said to David, go up, for I will doubtlessly deliver the Philistines into your hand. So David went to Baal Perazim, and David defeated them there. And he said, the Lord has broken through my enemies before me like a breakthrough of water. Therefore he called the name of that place Baal Perazim, and they left their images there, and David and his men carried them away. Then the Philistines went up once again and deployed themselves in the valley of the Rephaim. Oh, you're back for more.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, David inquired of the Lord, and he said, you shall not go up. Circle around behind them and come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. And it shall be when you hear the sound of the marching in the tops of the mulberry trees, when you shall advance quickly. For then the Lord will go out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines. And David did so, as the Lord commanded him, and he drove back the Philistines from Geba as far as Gezer.
Yeah.
What you're talking about?
Yeah.
Gotta love the beauty of YouVersion. Thank you, YouVersion. Bible.com.
Isn't that amazing? I mean,
Cool,
they
right?
could physically hear God as army or whatever. But they could they see him? Could they not see him?
It's probably not, I would say.
And we are able to see these creatures.
It's like, could they see the angel that was sent into the camp of the Assyrians?
Yeah.
You know, that struck down the 140,000.
Yeah. I mean, if it's
of Sennacherib's dudes,
if it's like what it looks like, a huge ball of energy.
Yeah. Can you imagine, right?
Just flying through a camp.
Yeah.
Boom. Like it would just have to just pulse once.
Yeah. Well, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
I'm sorry. I just was thinking about
okay.
that.
There's no time limit on this bad boy.
This is like so cool. This has got me, the orbs and things have got me fired up.
Yeah, there's wonders in the sky, man. And
Yes.
the more it's like the more we go every day, we see more and more stuff that it's just like, here it is. It's all playing out just like we read.
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we will bid you adieu until next time on Tinfoil. Take care.
Bye.
Atomic.